Who is El Mencho? How does a man from a very poor family who was running from poverty to crossing illegally the border to live in the US to becoming a hitman to getting paid $1,000 per month to kill, then radically become the DEA's most wanted drug lord, public enemy number one, and become the richest drug kingpin with assets believed to be worth at least $50 billion? How has he been able to strike fear into so many hearts? Well, we have all the details you have never heard about El Mencho. But beware, the facts we are about to expose can make you wonder about the limits of humanity. It's essential to look at the bigger picture of drug cartels in Mexico in order to understand the extent of the chaos El Mencho and his organization have wreaked. Mexico has been a battlefield for significant gangs involved in the illegal drug trade for many years. With their extensive networks and resources, these cartels created a web of bloodshed and corruption throughout this country. They established complex networks for the growth of illicit drug manufacture, distribution, and transportation. Their veins are filled with cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana, which contaminate neighborhoods and feed addiction on a worldwide scale. They operate with no sympathy for human life, using extreme violence and intimidation to solidify their power. They have infiltrated law enforcement agencies, corrupted government officials, and instilled fear in communities, leaving innocent civilians trapped in the crossfire. We have heard how savage and deadly as were Pablo Escobar and El Chapo during their time as drug lords. However, when Mexico's fearsome cartel kingpin, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, was arrested and extracted to the United States, a new, even more terrifying drug lord already took his place. El Mencho claimed the throne of violence and horror. Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, is now under the control of this mysterious and feared leader who has left a path of bloodshed and devastation in his wake. Reports indicate that CJNG has established an iron grip over drug trafficking routes, both within Mexico and across the border into the United States. But what sets El Mencho apart from his predecessors? He has brutally become the most feared and DEA most wanted drug lord on the planet, with $10 million for any information leading to his arrest. What you are about to discover about El Mencho will blow your mind. Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, aka El Mencho, is the boss behind Mexico's cartel Jalisco New Generation, or CJNG. Experts think it becomes the country's deadliest and richest cartel. Before we reveal to you the atrocities El Mencho has caused all over Mexico and strike fear into every Mexican's heart, let's start with his earlier life. Born into a poor, avocado-growing family in the Mexican state of Michoacan in 1966, El Mencho left school at age 10 to help on the farm before taking a job guarding a marijuana crop at 14 and then illegally crossing the border into the U.S. to deal drugs. Around age 19, El Mencho, his family, and friends lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, where he tried to build a drug trafficking business. As you already know, it didn't work for him. He cannot build that kind of business in the U.S. Even if he could do it, it would not last. San Francisco police caught him trying to sell a meager street-level sized stash of crystal meth in 1986. He was deported to Mexico. Within months, he came back to the U.S. and ended up back in a San Francisco jail in 1989, then was deported a second time months later. Back in the U.S. for the third time, he got in much bigger trouble. El Mencho and his older brother, Abraham Oseguera Cervantes, sold heroin for $9,500 to two undercover officers at the Imperial Bar in San Francisco in 1992. Both ended up in federal prison. That time, El Mencho went to jail for 4 years before he was deported again to Mexico. He then decided to stay in his home country, Mexico. After being arrested on drug charges at 19, deported back to Mexico, and despite his criminal past, El Mencho joined the police force in Jalisco, Mexico. Years later, he eventually left the force to work for the Milenio Cartel under the control of Oscar Valencia and his brother Juan Valencia. El Mencho became a hitman for the Milenio Cartel and married Rosalinda Valencia, the sister of his bosses. The Milenio Cartel became aligned with El Chapo's Sinaloa Cartel, and after the arrest of Oscar and his brother Juan Carlos Valencia, the leaders of the Milenio Cartel in Guadalajara, during an operation by the Mexican Army, the cartel experienced internal disruption and fragmented into two groups. This is from where El Mencho comes to the game. This is how the carnage would begin. Thanks to his marriage with the sister of Juan Carlos Valencia, El Mencho was not a simple hitman for the cartel anymore. He was now part of the family and automatically has the authority to claim the throne of one of the two fractions of the Milenio Cartels. He successfully became the leader of one group called Los Torcitos, and he renamed it to Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. This cartel was created just 12 years ago, but surprisingly, quickly gained a reputation for especially brutal mass killings. They have crushed the Mexican army in battle and thrown the entire nation into chaos and fear. His cartel dominates much of Guadalajara and controls the outskirts of the state of Jalisco and other states such as Colima and Michoacan. CJNG has spread to many of Mexico's 32 states with an increasing presence in Tijuana and Mexico City. CJNG deals with crystal meth, cocaine, and heroin, with the drugs ending up across the border. El Mencho has zero respect for Mexico, the U.S. government, and human lives in general. He calls the police and threatens them. Listen to how El Mencho talks to a police captain.
Delta 1.
Hey, ¿quién habla?
Mira bien, hijo de tu puta madre. Soy Mencho, güey. Relaja tu puta gente a la verga. Soy Mencho, güey. Relaja tus putas partidas, si no te voy a partir tu madre, tienes toda tu bola de perros. Te tengo identificado 30 güeyes. Hasta tus putos perros te voy a matar si no te relajas, güey. ¿Cómo ves?
Ya está, señor, ahorita los bajo.
Oh, no cuelgues, hijo de la verga. Te tengo ubicado en Chacala, güey.
No le estoy colgando, le estoy diciendo, ahorita los bajo.
Póngase bien las pilas, güey. ¿Qué se le cuesta ser amigo, cabrón? ¿Uno no se mete con ustedes para que se pasen de verga?
No, señor, ahorita yo se las bajo.
Pónganle, mire, revíremeles a todos los hijos de su puta madre, porque todos agarran dinero y son buenos de puercos.
Sí, es lo que me están
¿Se
diciendo.
me ponen a tiros o tú eres el primero que vas a marchar por ellos, León?
No, señor.
¿Vale?
No, señor, no se trata de eso.
Váyase a la verga, porque aquí los vergazos están al 220, ya se la sabe. Y miedo no hay.
No, señor, no se trata de eso. Ahorita yo lo sabe.
Entonces, si quiere la amistad, aquí va a tener un amigazo, cabrón. Si no, a chingar a su madre a la verga.
No, yo sé, señor.
Ya estoy hasta la verga de que no entiendan, loco.
Señor, usted me conoce, usted sabe que yo soy capitán.
Pues por eso me extraña, cabrón. Yo te entiendo, güey, pero pues no mames, yo sé que tienes gente y la familia de chingada. Verga, pues póngase las putas pilas.
Yo lo sé, señor. Nada más
no quiero que me apagues este puto teléfono. Después te voy a marcar, güey. A ver si no se relajaron a la verga, ¿eh?
No, ahorita le voy a marcar.
A todos en general, güey. Relájenmelos a la verga, por favor.
Ahorita le voy a marcar de otro número, a este número que me está marcando.
No, este ya no le vuelvas a marcar. Yo le marco cuando yo pueda.
Ándale, pues.
Pero no me lo apague porque lo voy a entender como negatividad.
No, señor. Ahorita le mando un mensaje de otro número.
Órale, pues, mi León, ahí les quiero eso, que se relajen a la verga.
Sí, señor, usted me conoce, usted sabe que hay respeto y hay... Nada más
ya
aquí...
está, igualmente, de aquí para allá también. Ahí disculpen por las malas palabras.
Aquí los muchachos son los que están allá y usted yo se los saludo.
Ahora pues, ahí le encargo.
Ándale, sí.
Ahí, relájenmelos a todos, dígale que va de parte mía.
Claro que sí, señor.
Ya está.
Ándale.
Tell them to fall back, and that is an order from me. You heard him right. That was El Mencho talking to a Mexico police captain. This is a criminal telling the police captain that they are incapable of following instructions, which means he controls not only the city of Jalisco, but also the police that are supposed to apprehend him. They are afraid of him, and they have a very reasonable sense of being afraid of him. The Mexican government cannot handle the pressure of CJNG, so the police are confronted with the reality of collaborating with them. You are probably asking yourself why the police are forced to collaborate with a criminal. It is because El Mencho didn't give them any other choice. How? You will find out soon. CJNG specializes in corrupting police and officials and killing the incorruptible. If a police officer doesn't want to collaborate, El Mencho kills him, his family, and even his dog if he gets one. El Mencho has displayed a savagery that is extreme even by the narco standards. Mexican authorities said that for El Chapo, killing was a necessary part of the business. But for El Mencho, it seems more like sadism as a public spectacle. In 2013, CJNG operatives raped, killed, and set fire to a 10-year-old girl they mistakenly believed was a rival's daughter. In 2015, CJNG assassins executed a man and his elementary school-aged son by detonating sticks of dynamite duct taped to their bodies, laughing as they filmed the terrifying scene with their phones. Hundreds of bodies have been found in the last year, dumped in drainage canals, buried in fields, and the patios and yards of homes. 9 bodies were left hanging from a busy stretch of highway near Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, and a CJNG banner was hung next to them with a message to the government: "We run, Jalisco. Don't come after me again. Don't do it again, or this will be the result." So many bodies have been found in Guadalajara that authorities ran out of space at the morgue and took to moving rotting bodies around in refrigerated trucks until neighbors complained about the smell. The CJNG cartel is blamed for frequent attacks on police, including the October 14 ambush and massacre of 13 officers in Michoacán. His rise has been accompanied by shocking savagery compared to the brutal acts committed by the terrorist group ISIS. It included ripping out victims' hearts, publicly hanging enemies, and even targeting pregnant women. Among its ranks are glamorous women assassins like La Katrina, a CJNG hitwoman who died in a shootout with cops. As the boss, El Mencho set the tax that business owners and independent drug traffickers had to pay for protection. The DEA and federal law enforcement in the U.S. have made El Mencho their top target. They have teamed to root out El Mencho's hiding spots at least 3 times. Police raided his secret compounds in 2012, 2015, and 2018. The first 2 times were in rural Jalisco, but he always found a way to escape. During the 2012 raid, a DEA intelligence analyst said El Mencho ordered cartel members to stay inside the house and fire at police. He and his son escaped into the mountains while 4 cartel members died. In 2015, a group of soldiers led by Mexican police officer Ivan Morales embarked on a covert mission at the Colima airport, 6 hours away from Puerto Vallarta. Despite not being informed of their target's identity, they proceeded with the operation. Their objective was to locate the hideout of El Mencho, believed to be in a Cartel Jalisco New Generation compound. What police forces and Mexican and American authorities would soon learn is just how powerful the CJNG cartel had become and how willing El Mencho was to use that power in brutal ways.
Jalisco New Generation Cartel took the fight to the next level, shooting down a military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade.
Ivan Morales was disfigured and unable to return to work after the CJNG cartel shot down the military helicopter with a grenade, killing several and leaving Ivan with severe burns. El Mencho's private criminal security force is seen as even a challenge to the Mexican army, with ministers having to deny they consider them a danger. Donahue, who worked for years in Mexico City, overseeing agents hunting for El Mencho and teaming with Sedena soldiers, said that the Mexican government has zero control over the cities of Jalisco and Guerrero. Donahue added that the military does not go in there. The Navy does not go in there. El Mencho has been on the run since a decade when the manhunts against him began. Why did DEA fail to arrest him several times? El Mencho is the opposite of the other drug lords. His former bosses, Oscar and Juan Carlos, Neva Valencia, Pablo Escobar, or El Chapo, he has learned from all the mistakes made by his predecessors. He has his own SWAT team who dress like a real army. He has invested a lot of money in creating paramilitary forces which are very well armed and operate in armored vehicles. He has a history of surrounding himself with highly trained assassins ready to kill and die for him. El Mencho doesn't drink alcohol and doesn't take drugs to avoid foolish mistakes made by other cartel leaders. He's also rarely seen, staying in isolated compounds that make it harder for police to access. A U.S. former DEA agent said, in Mexico, you'd run into guys who had met El Chapo, but not Mencho. He's kind of a ghost. He normally stays 1 or 2 nights in one location. He's always on the move and has a good security force. He moves from Jalisco to different states, stays up in the mountains, and is very well guarded by a virtual army. He always has an escape plan and has a large force that will engage with the Mexican security forces. He is so paranoid by his security, he reportedly built his own hospital to get treatment for a kidney problem. He uses extreme violence, acid baths, decapitations, and even cannibalism to inspire fear and compliance. His cartel members post many of these gruesome deaths on social media. This includes videos of torture and murder posted on YouTube, threats broadcast on Twitter and Facebook, and even images of bodies hanging from bridges on Pinterest. El Mencho doesn't have any limit, and even the Mexican government doesn't dare to combat him like they used to do with the Sinaloa cartel. One of the most disturbing aspects of El Mencho's reign is the alleged targeting of innocent lives, including pregnant women and babies. Federal investigators have accused him of ordering the murders of these vulnerable individuals, demonstrating a complete lack of empathy or remorse. El Mencho's early experiences and run-ins with the law likely shaped his criminal mindset and fueled his ambition to establish a powerful drug empire. Nobody anticipated at the time how quickly CJNG would grow into a powerful rival. CJNG has experienced a rapid expansion of its drug trafficking activities, both within Mexico and beyond international borders, primarily into the United States. The CJNG has earned a reputation for its brutal and sadistic acts of violence. Reports from federal investigators reveal a pattern of unimaginable cruelty, including decapitations, dissolving bodies in acid, and ripping out hearts. These gruesome tactics go beyond anything witnessed before El Mencho's violence surpasses the level of violence attributed to even the infamous drug lords El Chapo and Pablo Escobar. CJNG's disregard for human life is evident in its willingness to carry out public executions and engage in extreme savagery. Authorities have devoted a lot of money and energy to finding him because of his reputation and the rising violence linked to the CJNG. The DEA has taken considerable measures to acquire information, investigate his organization's practices, and block his drug trafficking empire. As the story of El Mencho continues to unfold, we will keep you updated on the latest developments. Today's question is, do you think the authorities will be able to capture El Mencho, or will he be likely like Ismael Zambaba El Mayo to avoid the capture? We will be happy to discuss this with you in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for new videos like this every week. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.